400 years ago, there was something in the water. It was us, kidnapped from the mother continent. But you see, there was something else in the water, something toxic. There's something in the water.
Michael Waters is an award-winning author, pastor, and civil rights leader, and he's inviting readers to take an epic journey along with him through America's racial history.
His new book is Something in the Water, a 21st century civil rights odyssey. It challenges readers to look at our troubled history of racism and take action to create a better path forward. Michael Waters joins us live. Michael, thanks for being with us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity.
So talk about the importance of visiting these iconic places in order to tell the story.
Well, John Henry Clarke suggested that history is never really far from us. It is informing our present and pointing us to the future. And given the horrific events in our nation's capital this past week, we recognize that it is part of a continuum of suffering and brutalities over the course of the history of this nation that continues to inform our present. And so as I travel from coast to coast to sites of lynchings and bombings, we recognize that that harm is still very much so with us today. And unless we are willing to purify these waters of America, it will continue to be with us for generations to come.
But typically when it comes to historic sites, nations prop up places that make us feel good about ourselves, not the places from our dark part of the history. So how do we rethink and relook at that as a nation? And what are some of the feelings and thoughts you get when you go to a place like Emmett Till?
Well, that is really authentically who we are. There is an American mythology of exceptionalism and progress, when in fact it has been individuals, ordinary individuals, who have made tremendous sacrifices that have pushed us forward on the road to peace and justice. And so it is imperative that we not turn away from the waters where Emmett Till's bodies was retrieved, that we not turn away from the places where a bombing took the life of 4 little girls, that we not turn away from the assaults that happen today, from Charlottesville to Ferguson, to the bodies that have been broken, to the young people who are in cages even as we speak now. That really speaks to our authentic history. It speaks to our true self. And by not turning away, but looking at those realities with very clear eyes, we can get an understanding of who we are. And more importantly, we can get a greater picture of who we must be to make change in the world.
Is there a place you visited that shed light on a story that maybe people do not know a lot about?
Well, there are a number of places, but I will say, particularly with regards to the lynching of Emmett Till, I remember being in the Mississippi Delta, speaking with individuals in that area, and they were clear to say that there was nothing exceptional about Emmett Till because they were always, for generations, pulling bodies from the water. Wow. It reminds me of Freedom Summer, when they went to look for those 3 civil rights workers and stumbled upon 8 other bodies they weren't looking for. That speaks to the depth of white supremacy in our nation. White supremacy comes with a body count. And by locating the bodies, we get a clear understanding of who we are. But we are then compelled, I do pray, to make a difference in our own time to become something much better.
So, Michael, when it comes to Black Lives Matter, there are some people you're never going to reach. But there are others that I think are reachable, and I'm sure you've heard this as well. They say, well, all these things, this was a long time ago, there's no systematic racism, or they'll say things like, well, why should I feel guilty about that? What do you say to those people?
I would say that redlining continues today. I would say that there are fewer Black homeowners in America today than in 1968. I would say for your own city, the life expectancy differs amongst communities by over 30 years. That in the city of Chicago, you can either die as a middle-aged person, 60 years old, or 90 years old, well into your senior years, based upon your zip code. I would say that before COVID hit, we already had the greatest wealth disparity in American history. I can tell you that redlining continues. All of these atrocities, health disparities, issues in the criminal justice system are still very much so with us. And so 52 years removed from the Kerner Commission that said that we were on a path between becoming 2 separate societies, we are very much so here. Dr. King told us that we had to have an abolition of poverty. We have not done that yet. And so it's not simply about looking at the past, but it is looking at how the past continues to inform our present.
Well, Michael Waters, we appreciate you joining us. The book is Something in the Water, 21st Century Civil Rights Odyssey. Thanks so much for being with us.
My honor. Thank you so much.
And there is how you can follow him. There is his website, michaelwaters.com. You can follow him on Twitter, Rev. Dr. Mike Waters. Thanks again.
Hey, Mike.